fuck?
Oh god.
What the fuck is playing? What the fuck are you playing, dude?
Barney and Friends theme song horror version.
What the fuck? What in the absolute fuck?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to part 1 of the review of the Barney the Dinosaur Docuseries. I love you, you hate me. We just got done watching the first part, which was called I Love You, which basically gave the backstory on Barney the dinosaur and the show and how it was created. And then the second part is called You Hate Me, which we're going to be watching after we're done reviewing the first episode. So, straight out of the gate, like, just disregarding everything, what is your thought process right now after what we just watched?
Well, it ended on a cliffhanger for one, but for two, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? It started off. It started off with some cursed fucking imagery, and
There was so
then
much cursed imagery in
it went.
this.
It went through the back. I want to know who the editor is in this. Either way, but it went through the backstory of how Barney came to be, and then we started to see fuck shit. Like, and there's gonna be more fuck shit in the next one. Like,
Yeah. Because, so, basically the first episode was to give the backstory behind, like, Barney and the creator of Barney and how Barney came to be so popular. And then this one ended off on the cliffhanger of, like, how the show started to negatively affect the life of the woman who created it. Her name was Cheryl Leach, I think.
yeah.
And so the next episode is gonna be all the fuck shit. So, it's gonna be, well, they talked a little bit about it in this, but it's gonna be all the backlash, all the fuck shit. It's gonna be bad. All the fucking conspiracies and everything about Barney, it's all gonna be there. It's gonna be some fuck shit. So we'll get to that. But before that, this was fucking, like, I'm not gonna say it was bad. I think so far it's been, as a documentary, I think it's been done very well so far.
Yeah.
But my
Definitely
God,
done better than most Peacock things. They saw some.
my God, there was so much, like, even though the fuck shit doesn't start till the next part, there was so much fuck shit in this. Like, they had basically, excuse me. Basically, like Austin said, it starts off with, like, how Barney was created, how he came to be. Basically, the reason Barney was created was because this woman named Cheryl Leach basically had a son named Patrick, and she wanted to find something that would keep him busy, like to keep his attention while she did whatever she wanted to do. And so they were talking about how at the time there wasn't a lot of, like, kids shows. Uh, like, there was, like, some things, but not a lot at the time. Keep in mind, this was back in, like, the 80s. So she decided that she wanted to make a children's show. And basically it came from this fucking movie that she rented called We Sing Together. And when I tell you, this shit looks so cursed, like, I'm gonna try to find PNGs of these and put them in the thumbnail. If I'm unsuccessful, oh well. But the whatever it was like about how a bear and a mouse come to life. And oh my God, dude, like, Austin, like, was gone for this part. But dude, like, so you know how for like Jim Carrey as the Grinch or like Mike Myers as Cat in the Hat, like how they fucking like made them in the costume but it still had like a human like face. That's what these were. And oh my god, they were so horrifying to look at. So fucking cursed, dude. But basically, she put that movie on and her son was encapsulated, as she said. And from there she was like, "Oh, well, I want to make a kids some kids show or something like that." And so she tried to come up with the idea and pitched it to like this local network and they liked it, so they started working on it, but they had a really small budget at first, so it didn't really take off until like a couple VHS tapes of it got passed around to this one lady who then decided she was going to start advertising it and doing like Barney birthday parties and shit, and then by word of mouth Barney just got more and more and more popular until some TV executives seen it, and then it got even bigger, being put on an actual TV network and shit. And Barney just started becoming bigger and bigger. Then they started doing live shows and concerts of Barney, and they had a couple cameos from celebrities. They had fucking Steve from Blue's Clues on here talking. They had fucking Bill Nye, the science guy. Like, and then they had like the people who played the kids on the Barney and Friends show. I believe they said it started out as the show was originally Barney and the Backyard Gang before they changed it to Barney and Friends. Also, something
Yeah.
cursed to note is that when they were coming up with the idea of Barney, originally they were going to have Barney be a clown doll. Could you imagine that, Austin?
No.
But they ended up wanting to go with the dinosaur for some reason, and then the creator was like, well, it has to be a friendly looking dinosaur. It can't just be like some Jurassic Park type shit. And so that's how Barney got his design. And when I tell you, I'm gonna try to find a PNG of it for this thumbnail as well. Like old school, like original design Barney looks so fucking cursed, dude. Like Barney looks cursed in himself, but like original, like I'm just gonna call it Blue Barney, because that's what everybody else calls it. It looks so cursed. It is so cursed. But anyway, as Barney became more and more popular, fucking we get into like the fuck shit of this episode about how like this one guy basically like his daughter was a huge Barney fan, and so he left for like a business trip and then came back and was expecting his daughter to be all excited for when he came home, but then she just pretty much said fuck you and just kept watching Barney. And he was like, he said, I felt hurt. So then this guy decides to become the founder of the I Hate Barney secret society. I'm not even joking. Like, why does it need to be a secret
Christ,
society,
dude.
bro? Why? And then like Barney started getting all this backlash, and they were showing images like of like drawings of Barney. Like one was like a drawing of Barney where he was holding hearts, and they changed it to where Barney was like holding swastikas. And then there was like a drawing of Barney, and they wrote pedophile on it. And like I was just like, what the fuck? And they were like saying like they became like this Barney hate group and shit. So then all this slander started coming out about Barney, where like one said like Barney the dinosaur flamboyant and gay question mark. And then there was one where they said Barney was like an addiction for kids, and they even came up with the name for Barney, Purple Crack. I'm not even joking.
No, this is there. It's like, what the fuck?
But like, bro, whoever edited this, like, they were putting in clips of like people like modding a Barney skin, and I don't know if it was Call of Duty or fucking what the game was, but they had like a mod of Barney getting shot in a video game. Like, I don't know who edited this, bro, but Jesus Christ. And excuse me. And so they're having all this slander on Barney, and then for some reason, like, they decided to also show how Jerry Springer came to be what it is today, when I guess Jerry Springer used to just be a regular talk show until one day, like, this guy got up and started getting in a fight with this other guy, and that gave him the highest ratings they ever got, so they changed it and made Jerry Springer about drama between people and people fighting each other. So if you ever wondered why Jerry Springer is how it is today and everybody chanting Jerry, 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 that's why. Because some guy got offended by something someone said, so he started, like, he literally like, they showed the clip, he tackled him out of his fucking chair. And so fucking God, dude. Eventually, they had the Barney Hate Society, a secret society, on Jerry Springer because they wanted to air drama between Barney fans and this I Hate Barney secret society. It was so stupid. Like,
Actually
it's
dumb.
like these, and then like they try to, like, these fucking, like, I'm not trying to sound sexist, but these fucking women that they had doing these interviews, like, they tried to spin this narrative that the reason Barney was getting so much hate was because it was specifically males. Like, I don't know what the fuck they were talking about, but they were, like, targeting males and saying that it was specifically males trying to act out,
Yeah,
and saying that it was
like what
only
the fuck?
males that hated Barney. And then like, and then the fucking I Hate Barney Secret Society decided to throw an event called called fucking the Barney Bash, which was these fucking adult grown men in this high school gym completely fucking out their ass crazy, destroying all this Barney merchandise. Like, they,
On a real,
oh
on
my
a real note
god.
though, on a real note though, if you were there, tell me you wouldn't do it.
I mean,
Because it kind of honestly looked a little fun. Honestly.
maybe, but bro, like, these guys were like some wild animals. The shit they were doing, like the guy who ran it, he had a Barney doll, and he was talking about how he saw someone eat Barney's eyes off the doll. Like, what the fuck, bro? What the fuck? Like, dude, they showed clips of, like, them fucking hitting a Barney pinata and, like, playing whack-a-mole with Barney dolls and, like, ripping them apart, cutting Barney, like, beheading Barney with a fucking saw. Like, oh my god. And there's even some people they interviewed that are like, they're like, oh, I don't actually hate Barney. This is just fun. Like, what the fuck, dude? And then they were showing several clips of these fucking insane people. Like, this one guy strapped a Barney doll to an old stove and shot him with a 9mm. He just unloads the clip into Barney. A Barney doll. Bro. Like, what the fuck is wrong with people? And then they were trying to, like, spin this narrative of, like, how Barney became, like, an outlet for everyone to vent their frustration. And basically the whole issue was that all these parents were upset because their kids were such Barney fans, and they felt like the Barney was taking their kids away from them and shit. Like, oh my god, dude. And then, like, it starts getting into how, like, the creator was under a lot of pressure, and, like, that's why we said the next part's gonna be the fuck shit, because the way this one ended, it started getting into, they were hinting at, like, the creator, like, a lot of darkness started happening where she was kind of, like, just low-key ignoring her family Because keep in mind, she started this whole thing because of her son, but now she's like neglecting him. And then they were like showing examples of other like children that had like their family created like a mascot, like uh I forget what examples they showed, but fucking, and they're apparently the way at least they're describing it, her fucking son Patrick is gonna be fucking worse off than all those other kids. But oh yeah, they also had an interview with this one guy that played Barney, and this guy who played Barney, he does like this, I don't even remember what it's called, but it's like this yoga type shit that he does with women that he calls goddesses. And the reason he said he does it is because he wants his
He was like
goddesses.
tantra or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, something like that. He was saying he wants his goddesses to be in touch with their sexual energy. And they're like, when he was playing Barney, they told him that he wasn't allowed, he had to sign a contract saying he wasn't allowed to do it because they said, and I quote, Barney and sex don't go together. Like, what the fuck? Bro, they showed so much shit. Like when they were talking about the Barney hate, like next thing I know, I start seeing like pictures of Pauly Shore on my screen. There's a picture of Brendan Fraser giving a middle finger. There's a fucking picture of Jim Carrey giving a middle finger. And they had this whole segment where, like on Wayne's World, they were talking about like Mike Myers and the guy who played Garth were talking about how they fucking hate Barney, and I was like, what is going on? Like, what the fuck,
They showed
dude?
a gif of fucking Stone Cold like
Yeah,
flipping off Mrs. Man.
yeah, because they were trying to like talk about like stuff that was violent at the time in the 90s, and next thing I know, I just see Stone Cold flipping the bird. Like, what the fuck, dude? I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I missed. I don't think so. But the way it ended was they were showing the creator was under a lot of pressure and that her family life wasn't doing too good, and basically it ended with this one chick who I guess who was like babysitting her son Patrick, and at first she was like, oh, there's not really much to say about him, he never stood out as like a problem child or anything. And then they like had this transition that says 2 months later, and so she comes back in and says that she kind of lied and she wasn't truthful, and they're like, so there's more to tell about Patrick, and she was like, yeah. And then it ended there. So part 2, the you hate me episode, I guess, is going to delve more into the darkness behind Patrick and the other fuck shit that happened with Barney. So, yeah, fucking. I don't even know what to say, dude. Like, it was good, but, like, holy fuck, this was cursed, dude. Oh my god. And now, we're gonna get to the fucking second part. So, is there anything else you want to say about fucking part 1?
No.
Alright, well, that was episode 1, I Love You. So now we're going to be getting into the finale of this docuseries, episode 2, which is called You Hate Me. So we will be right back for that.
I just took a DNA test, turns out I'm 100%.
Alright, so we move on to part 2, the end of this docuseries, to episode 2, You Hate Me. And wow, this got pretty dark.
You can say that again.
This got pretty dark.
That was a terrible joke. That was a terrible fucking joke.
Oh man. So this part of the docuseries delved into some really dark topics like suicide and shooting and all kinds of stuff. So firstly, before it gets to the dark stuff, it starts off with this whole fucking like thing that happened where fucking like they said like the Cheryl chick left the show, and then the guy who played Barney left the show, and the guy who voice acted Barney left the show, and then Barney got bought by like big corporations, and it just wasn't the same anymore. And then they were talking about how like in 2010 it ended up getting canceled. And they were saying like how after those people left the show, like it was like the heart of Barney just left, and it was never the same again. And they were talking about how they added this new character to Barney. I forget what the character's name was. It's like this orange dinosaur. With, yeah, or Riff. That's what it was, Riff. And
I said Riff.
Huh?
I said Riff.
You said Whiff.
I said Riff.
No, you did not.
I did too, you motherfucker.
No, you did. You said with.
No, I said Riff, you dumbass.
No, what the fuck you didn't, bro.
Yes, I
What the fuck are you
did.
talking about?
I will keep arguing with you.
Fuck you.
Fuck you.
God damn it. Anyway, Riff, unlike what Austin said.
I said Riff, you motherfucker.
No, you fucking didn't, bro.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
Do you want me to commit aggravated assault, Austin?
Please do, I dare you.
I'll come to your house dressed up in a Barney costume. But so they added this new character named Riff, and it was supposed to be like this. They changed Barney around to like it's not the same premise, but they changed it to have like conflict in the stories, and then they added this Riff character to add some like edginess. And then they also delved into like how all the kids that played on Barney in the 90s, like once they weren't on Barney anymore, they were talking about how they tried to go back to a normal life, but they got so made fun of that they turned to like drugs and alcohol and being emo and shit. And the one guy was talking about how he got shot after doing Barney and he got paralyzed. Yeah, they did address a few of like if you watched our podcast episode where we talked about Barney conspiracies, like they addressed a few like the keeping drugs in his tail and all that kind of shit, but they really didn't delve too much in it. They just kind of like referenced it and they talked about it for like a second. But basically it was just like the cast and crew just saying it was just rumors that people were making up. But besides that, this other fucking thing happened where like there's this mascot called what was it, the San Diego Chicken.
Yeah.
And basically this guy has been this mascot for like 40 years. And Barney got so popular that they had like a Barney mascot at this baseball game that the San Diego Chicken was at, and so they had a dance off, and Barney started break dancing, and I guess the chicken took that as disrespectful because after Barney walked away, the chicken ran across the field and fucking tackled the fuck out of Barney, and then pinned him 1, 2, 3, and then he got Barney up and was like, acting like he was being nice and helping him, and then man fucking threw him over the ledge into the fucking dugout, bro. Fucked him up. And
Yeah.
the guy playing the chicken was just seems like an asshole, and he was like, pretty much he was like, fuck Barney. And he was like, I helped him up, and, I was pretending to be all nice, and then I fucking threw his ass, sucker. And so what happened was, like, the people who owned Barney tried to make this cease and desist. Oh, also they talked about how there's this thing called the Jihad to Barney the dinosaur that these people made online, and it was like supposed to be, well, not supposed to be, but they were saying that it was like the predecessor to things like 4chan and shit. And there's like this whole comic series made about the Jihad to Barney, and they also got a cease and desist from the people who created Barney, but nothing ever came of it. But the one with the chicken actually ended up going to court, and they had this guy, I don't remember what his name was, but this dude was the stereotypical, like, evil, slimy lawyer guy, like, and he basically,
He kept like laughing and saying like, "I hate Barney."
yeah,
Like,
and so basically they won the case because they argued that what the chicken does was parody, because basically the people who own Barney were trying to sue the chicken for copyright, but the chicken ended up winning because it was under parody, which is fair use, I guess, under copyright law. So they won the lawsuit, and then the Cheryl chick had to pay like their court fees and shit. And then once again the guy like did an evil laugh. He even did like the maniacal like hand gesture, and he was like, "I hate Barney." And
like he said it with so much passion too.
I know. So with all that happening, we finally got to the darker part of the episode, which was the second half of it. And so basically the most of the darker stuff is centered around Patrick Leach, who is the son of Cheryl, who created Barney. And basically what had happened was, after Cheryl had left the Barney show, she ended up getting a divorce from Patrick's dad. And when Patrick turned 18, his dad committed suicide. And then, huh?
I said, "Yep."
Oh, and then later, a couple years later, basically they're talking about how Cheryl and Patrick like opened this restaurant, but then like Patrick, when he got older, like moved to Malibu, and he had like a wife and 2 kids or whatever, and they were living in like this mansion, and basically Patrick got like so fucked up because of Barney, because basically like his mom like neglected him, and also obviously having his dad commit suicide was fucking heavy on him. But like he also ended up having a brain tumor, which all kind of made him kind of fucked in the head. And so he was on like heavy amounts of marijuana. He was like addicted to it, which made him like delusional. So he had like this neighbor that lived by him. I forget what the guy's name was, but they always got in arguments. So the one day they got in a really bad argument, and Patrick went to his house, and they kept arguing about, because Patrick didn't like people going by his mansion because it was private property, and the guy had went by his mansion, so Patrick went to his house, and they started arguing. And then all of a sudden Patrick pulls out a fucking 45 on the guy, and the guy's like, "What are you gonna do, shoot me?" And before he even finishes that sentence, Patrick like unloads a clip into the guy, fucking shoots him. But the guy miraculously survived, which is crazy. Uh, and Patrick ended up getting arrested, and what had happened was they were gonna sentence him to life in prison, but they didn't, and he only ended up getting 15 years in prison, but he only ended up serving 5 of those years. Um, and he now lives a normal life, I guess. But he went down like a really, really dark path.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just really sad to see because like none of anything that happened like leading up to that was his fault. Uh, just it's unfortunately it's not the first time something like that has happened. Unfortunately, it's happened like with a lot more kids like than you would think. 'Cause they even gave an example of uh like the kid like I said in the last part of episode 1, like other kids that were like children of people who created famous mascots and stuff like that. Like it's happened way more than you would think, and it's just sad because they were talking about how like you look at it in one perspective of like, oh, like their parents are rich, so the kid grew up like having anything they could ever want. But then also there's another perspective of like they have that, but there's like hidden issues that they have, and sometimes it can lead to stuff like this, which is really fucked.
Yeah.
Um, so it got pretty fucking dark. Um, and then it went from that to like what the fuck were they talking about after that?
I think they were just talking about like other kid shows and stuff like that in general.
Oh yeah, so they had this whole fucking scene with like uh Steve from Blue's Clues, and he was talking about like like who was your Barney growing up, and like some people were saying Big Bird from Sesame Street, or Elmo, or Cookie Monster, or Mister Rogers. Fucking who did Bill Nye say?
He said Mr. Wizard.
I don't know who the fuck Mister Wizard is. Never heard of him.
Me neither.
But fucking he was like just imagine like and Steve said his was Grover from Sesame Street, but he said just imagine like the character like that you grew up with, and imagine like everybody just hating that character so bad, and um basically like saying imagine if they hated him like how people were hating Barney in this documentary. Um, and then like the guy who started the foundation, not the foundation, the fucking secret society of I Hate Barney, like he was talking about how like he used that to like help him through his own problems that he had with like alcohol addiction and shit, or his alcoholism. Um, but like there's this one fucking bitch that like I don't remember what she was talking about. All I remember is she said her name and she said, I am a former neo-Nazi and white
Yeah.
supremacist. And then they were showing pictures of her doing the Heil Hitler thing. And we were like, what the fuck, bro? This is so out of nowhere. Like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah, because
Like,
we were just watching the documentary and we hadn't said anything in a bit and everything, and then fucking this bitch comes and starts hailing, and we're like, what the fuck, dude?
yeah. And she was talking about how like people project hate onto stuff, and how the culture of the world isn't good. And then there's parts where they're talking about like riots and all this other stuff that happened in the world. Um, and they're saying, you know, like, why don't we uh why don't we go, abide by like the messages that like the lessons that Barney tried to teach us, you know, to love everyone. And they're like, just turn on the news, like on a daily basis you'll just see like human beings harming other human beings. And they're saying like how sad it is. And there's like one part where they're talking about how toxic like the internet has become and shit.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to remember what was the ending. Do you remember?
It was basically just them. I think that was the part where they're like, "Who was your Barney?" and shit like that.
But it just pretty much ended on that. There was the one guy was saying, he was like, you know, we need Barney right now in the world, but
Yeah.
unfortunately that's not the case. To be fair, like, they don't really have like stuff like Barney anymore. Like, they, you know, they have children's shows and all that still, but you know, they don't really have stuff like Sesame Street or Barney or, you know, any of that kind of stuff anymore in terms of children's
Yeah.
shows. Now it's like all like cartoon shit. Like, it's a very different world now.
I mean, they have
And
Sesame Street, but like, that's about it.
like, I don't know. The world's a very different place now from when Barney was popular in the 90s. And
Yeah.
I don't really think Barney would work today like it did back then. But yeah, that was pretty much You Hate Me. Um There's the one clip I was thinking of where like the guy has Barney like strapped to a tree, and he like points a gun at Barney's head, and and he calls Barney a commie bastard and shoots the fucking Barney plush with the
Oh
gun. I was
god.
like, what the fuck, bro? What's wrong with these
Let me see if you can
people?
find that on YouTube.
So you commie bastard, and just blows the Barney doll's head apart. Like, what the fuck, dude? Oh, and there was one part where the guy who, oh my god.
Barney's about to meet his maker. Die, you commie fucker!
Yeah, that's what you call me, fucker. But, there is one part where, like, the guy who played Barney, like, in the suit, where he was looking back at like old photos he had from the set and like the old pictures of the cast, and he started getting all emotional and crying, and he was like, I love you, Barney, I love you, Barney, and me and Austin started dying.
Oh,
uh,
fuck.
but oh yeah, they also showed that both Cheryl and Patrick both refused to be part of the documentary.
Jesus.
For Patrick, they didn't really say why, but for Cheryl, they said it was because she, like, if they asked her to just talk about Barney, she would have done it, but because they would have asked her to, like, talk about, like, her son and all that shit that happened, that's why she didn't. Um, but yeah, that was pretty much the You Hate Me episode, and that was the Barney I Love You, You Hate Me docuseries.
Yep.
It was, overall, I think it was very well done in terms of the docuseries. It had some really fucked shit in it. And shit that was random as hell.
I will say that it's one of the best things that Peacock has done, you know, besides wrestling stuff, of course. But
Hmm.
like, there's really nothing else that Peacock has done that's been too great besides this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hopefully this is a sign, not a sign, but hopefully this is be something to where Peacock can build off this and make their Peacock originals better. Hopefully.
Hopefully, either they'll do that or they'll give fucking Blumhouse another movie. But who knows? Who knows?
So I'm curious, like, do you think they'll ever do, like, now that this documentary came out and it's got pretty well received, do you think they'll do any documentaries on any other kids shows like this now? Like, do you think
I
we could
don't
see
know.
a Sesame Street one? Because they were saying, like, Sesame Street's another one of those that had, like, fuck shit.
I mean,
Um,
I don't know about Sesame Street because Sesame Street's still ongoing.
Not true. I wonder if there's ever any with, like, fucking, Mr. Rogers or anything like that.
I wouldn't know. I know there's been tons of movies about Mr. Rogers and shit. I know there's been tons of rumors about Mr. Rogers, which are very, very untrue.
Hmm.
I think there was one. There was about fucking. There was one about him being a pedophile. Of course, there always has to be one about them being a pedophile. There was one where somebody said Mr. Rogers fought in the military and he has like military scars and that's why he wears a sweater
Jesus.
and shit. But in all reality, if you fucking speak to Mr. Rogers, he's actually like a nice guy, which I actually think he. I don't know. I think he passed.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
I know Mr. Rogers.
I'm pretty sure he passed away.
Yeah, he passed away in 2003. But yeah.
It's just sad. It's like, all these kids shows, like, have their own problems like that, and it's not Barney's not the first one to get hate projected on him, because they showed another example of like this kid that was in the beginning of one of the Star Wars movies, and for some reason, like everybody just decided to like pick on this kid and like say that he was what ruined the Star Wars franchise, and the kid got so much hate, it just fucked him up real bad, like hate and harassment. It fucked him up real bad, and he went down like a really dark path. So it's not like the shit that happened with Barney is not like the first or only thing that's ever happened like that. And especially with like children's shows, like you know, how like with the Barney kids, how they got like made fun of and shit and turned to drugs and alcohol. I could guarantee
Uh,
you that probably happened with the kids who are on Sesame Street and the kids who are on fucking Mr. Rogers. Like, I just feel like, that's probably a thing that
I mean,
happens to a lot of child
it,
actors.
it even happens to people who have success and people who don't get made fun of, like Macaulay Culkin, for example. I mean,
Oh,
obviously
yeah.
he's fucking doing great right now, but like he wasn't for a while. He was fucked for a while.
Yeah.
Shit. I mean, especially when most child actors now are in fucked situations, like the Dan Schneider situation,
Oh, yeah.
or stuff with Disney Channel and everything like that. Like, you never know nowadays, honestly.
Yeah, man. It's just more sad than
I think
anything.
I think the point is right here is Hollywood and child stars just don't mix. They just really don't mix.
Yeah.
Oh God, they don't mix. And more and more stuff comes out every day. Like more Dance Gender stuff came out, and then recently, I think Demi Lovato uh, said that she was she had dated the person who played Fez, who was
Oh,
29 at
dear
the
God.
time, and she was 17.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so things just keep coming out, man.
Yeah. I'm just curious, like, if there'll be... I mean, obviously, with how successful this docuseries has been, I imagine the people who made it probably are gonna want to make another one.
I mean, I
So,
would assume so.
I just wonder, like, what they would cover next. Because there's a lot of kids' shows that probably have a lot of fuck shit.
Yeah.
It's crazy, like, all these, like, shows and properties that are made for children and are supposed to be good for children to watch and all that shit. And they're supposed to be, you know, like, about teaching children, like, valuable, like, lessons and teaching them how to be, like, good people, you know. It's just crazy how, like, all those shows that are supposed to be such a positive, like, behind the scenes just have so much, like, fuck shit and negativity and, like, dark fucking sad things. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the I Love You, You Hate Me, Barney the Dinosaur docuseries on Peacock. I would highly recommend that if you haven't seen it. Well, A, I don't know why you're watching this review if you haven't seen it. But B, if you somehow got this far and haven't seen it, I definitely recommend that you go see it. It's definitely worth 2 hours of your time, especially if you were a Barney kid like I was. I don't remember much, but I definitely do remember watching Barney when I was really little. It's very, very vague in my memory, but I definitely remember having Barney VHS tapes when I was a kid. I remember watching it, but I don't really think I was that into it. I think I was more into Sesame Street. It's really hard to remember. It's been so long. But it's just like if you either watched Barney or you know Barney, like definitely
I
this will
think
be an interesting watch for you.
I think I passed it down to my siblings, but I know when I was a kid, I had a Barney DVD. It was like Barney Goes to the Zoo.
Hmm.
But I'm pretty sure I passed that to my sibling. But yeah.
Yeah, fucking.
Well,
I was also a big Blue's Clues kid as well.
same here.
Fucking. It's just crazy, but like I said, definitely recommend this docuseries. Um, I'm interested to see if they will make any more docuseries like this, because I'd definitely be very interested to watch. Uh, but yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ. Um, well, I suppose I could play this out. And
Well, hang on. I got something to play that, I think.
all right.
Barney's about to meet his maker. Die, you comic fucker!
Jesus Christ. Someone made a song out of that.
Yeah. Called Awful Remix Edition.
Ew, it sounds so bad. Ew, what is this one?
Ew. What the fuck?
It's got Barney I Love You creepy version. Well, thank.
Ew. What the fuck?
Yeah, there's so many of these.
Okay.